Hello, Lauren here. A young man stopped by the house a few days ago trying to sell us a security system. He went through his spiel about how his system works and asked about what we had in place for security and talked about what our needs and preferences might be. I didn't give a whole lot of personal information, but afterward wondered, was he legit or was he casing the place? And after speaking with some neighbors, I'm convinced he was for real. But for some time I felt uneasy about some of the information I had shared with this fellow. I actually felt insecure about our security. Trust is a big deal. We need to be sure of what we put our trust in. When we are sure of what or who our trust is in, what a great feeling of security. In Matthew 7, verses 24 to 27, Jesus tells his audience and us, "Anyone who listens to my teaching and follows it is wise, like a person who builds a house on a solid rock. Though the rain comes in torrents and the floodwaters rise and the winds beat against that house, it won't collapse because it's built on bedrock. But anyone who hears my teaching and doesn't obey it is foolish, like a person who builds a house on sand. When the rains and floods come and the winds beat against that house, it will collapse with a mighty crash." Then in Luke 12:16 to 21, then he told them a story. A rich man had a fertile farm that produced fine crops. He said to himself, "What should I do? I don't have room for all my crops." Then he said, "I know, I'll tear down my barns and build bigger ones. Then I'll have enough room to store all my wheat and other goods. And I'll sit back and say to myself, 'My friend, you have enough stored away for years to come. Now take it easy, eat, drink, and be merry.' But God said to him, 'You fool, you will die this very night. Then who will get everything you worked for?' Yes, a person is a fool to store up earthly wealth, but not have a rich relationship with God." One winter I worked construction on a high-rise in Saskatoon. Cold and slippery weren't on the job description, but they were definitely a reality. We were finishing up the shift one day when I had to go up to the next fly form to get some tools. I set up a ladder, leaning it on the deck and climbing up. When I was a couple rungs from the top, the base of the ladder started to slide out on the slippery, smooth concrete floor. I hadn't put anything in place to anchor the base or asked someone to hold it. It could have been serious, but thankfully I rode the ladder down the 10 or so feet without injury, other than to my pride. A few years ago I went fishing in the river by Wingard Ferry. I was in the water a couple feet from shore on a fairly large rock, feeling fairly secure. But one quick movement and my foot slipped. In an instant I was up to my chest in the river current. I got out with a bit of struggle, and very thankful my son didn't tease me or reprimand me about being careless. I have to admit I've got a lot of clothes, and I'm thankful for our walk-in closet. But a couple of months ago, the brackets for the hanging rod gave way. Not enough screws and not properly anchored. And maybe too many clothes. I'm glad to say I hadn't installed the rod in the first place, and since the incident I've doubled the amount of anchor points and used proper anchors, and moved some of my clothes. Sounds like I've had a bit of trouble with securing things. My feet, the ladder, and the rod. You may even laugh at these stories, hopefully with me, not at me. These incidents could have been serious, but thankfully weren't. As I close, think again about the house builders and the farmer we read about earlier. In the matters of life and death that really are serious, how sure is your footing, your foundation, your security? The old hymn says, "On Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand." I'm down with that. Are you in? Have a great week.